Everyone's slowly getting a grasp of how Arc 3.0 works, and as usual with a few fragments, people are finding ways to make crazy things happen. In this build, I wouldn't use any artifact mods, so you could use this build any season that you're watching. With the release of Arc 3.0, Bungie stated, for the Hunter, the team imagined the graceful warrior monk, giving the Hunter the ability to get in close quarters quickly and effectively make a mess of their opponents in the process. And that is what we're going to do today. So let's start with the exotic. For this build, we'll be using the Shinobu's Vow, which allows us to hold 2 skip grenades and recharge itself on hits. Because this exotic does so much already, we're just gonna do our best to empower it as much as we can, which basically means we're gonna turn our grenade into grenade energy, melee energy, dodge energy, reload speed, whatever we can, just to be able to make the build feel more full. Before we get into any of the mods or the subclass tree and things like that, I want to talk about the stats setup real quick. Most of the time, anytime someone's running a Hunter, the first thing they're doing is trying to get as much mobility as possible because the dodge is so important. Well, in this build, we're going to be doing something different. We're going to have as little mobility as possible because we don't need that dodge, and we don't necessarily need it for our movements either. The first stat that we're going to focus on is going to be discipline. If you can get that to 100, that's perfect because like I said, everything starts from our grenades. Then we're going to try to run as much resilience and recovery as possible so that we can increase our survivability. If you need to give up a little bit of discipline or recovery to get your resilience up to max, you can do that, but the higher you can get with this, the better. For the subclass setup, we're going to start out with the super. I use Gathering Storm because it applies Jolt, and Jolt is a big part of this build synergy. We're going to be using Gambler's Dodge, so whenever we're close to enemies and we dodge, we get our melee back instantly. I know I mentioned before that we're not going to run a high mobility to get this dodge, but we're still going to have it pretty frequently, which is going to allow us to melee a lot more and apply more Jolt. And like I said, the synergy of this build boils down to Jolt and a lot of things. For the grenade, we already know we're going to use skip grenades because of the exotic. But for the melee, using combination or disorient blow is going to be up to you, and I'm going to explain why. We're also going to be using the aspect called Tempest Strike. What this does is it allows you to slide and then do a melee ability across the ground to Jolt targets. Again, Jolt is a big part of the build, so that's why we're using this. But combination blow and disorient blow don't stack with this, so you're not able to slide melee and apply combination blow to each enemy. The only reason why I choose combination blow for this particular build is because if I do run into a situation where I need to melee really quickly to survive, combination blow allows me to heal. You can also stack up combination blow with the regular melee charges and then use Tempest Strike to do more damage with that melee. It does stack that way, but if you just keep on using that melee only, it's not going to keep combination blow going. The other aspect that we're going to be using is called flow state. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. Now, because there's a lot of jolts, we're getting free amplified, so that's okay. But the second part is where things get interesting. While you're amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly. So this is what allows us to effectively have maximum mobility without even running mobility at all, because we're going to be getting our dodge back super quick. Also, it helps with our reload speed while we're amplified. So the idea is we're trying to apply Jolt to a lot of stuff, which is going to make us amplified, and it's also going to recharge our dodge. Speaking of jolting, the first fragment that we're going to be using is called Spark of Shock. Your arc grenades jolt targets. Now we're going to have 2 of these, so you can already imagine we're going to be jolting stuff a lot. Also, we're going to be using Spark of Aeons, where defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. So we have 2 things now that our Jolt does. It makes us amplified, and it also spawns ionic traces. What ionic trace is something that flows across the ground and allows you to get more ability energy. We also have Spark of Focus, where after sprinting for a short time, your class ability regeneration is increased. So while we're amplified and we're moving around a lot, maybe from one group of enemies to the next, since we don't need our mobility, which is the penalty for this, we're also going to be able to increase our dodge speed even further. The last fragment we're going to be using is called Spark of Recharge. While critically wounded, your melee and grenade energy regenerates quickly. So if you're in a bunch of trouble with a bunch of enemies around you and you're about to die, your melee and your grenade can charge super quick. You could use your combination blow melee to kill something real quick and get your health back and maybe move out of that. So we've said a lot about Jolt, and by now if you don't know what Jolt means, basically if you shoot a jolted target, it chains damage to the nearby enemies. So basically, one jolted target or one jolted boss can help you kill a bunch of enemies around it. The idea so far is when it comes to stat distribution, we want high grenade recharge and survivability with resilience and recovery. For the subclass portion, we're trying to get jolts as much as possible, and we're going to be amplified a lot and get our dodge charged really quickly. Let's step all of that up by setting up the mods, the combat style mods on our character to be able to take this to the max. We're going to start with elemental ordnance, which basically, since we're going to be using grenades a lot, every time we get a grenade kill, it's going to spawn us an elemental well. When we pick up this elemental well, we're going to also use elemental charge to turn that well into charge with light. Each elemental well that we pick up that matches our subclass counts as 2 charges of charge with light, and we'll be using 3 different mods to take advantage of this charge with light. The first one is going to be firepower, which states that every time you charge with light and use a grenade, you consume 1 stack of charge with light and get a bunch of grenade energy back. The second mod we're going to be using is heal thyself. Every time you get a grenade kill, it's also going to give you health regeneration. The third mod that we're going to use is called heavy-handed. Since we're going to be spamming our melee ability really quickly and sometimes might not have our dodge to be able to charge it right back, this is also going to refund our melee energy back to us. What it does is it gives you half your melee energy every time that you use your melee energy while you're charged with light. So we have elemental ordnance to make wells, elemental charge to turn those wells into charge with light, and then we have firepower, heavy-handed, and heal thyself as the ways that we're going to turn that elemental charge into a lot of bonus damage and hit. So for this build, all you got to keep doing is throwing your grenades when you have them, and if you have your dodge but don't have your melee, you dodge close to the enemies and you slide and melee to jolt everything. The amount of power that you have from jolting with either your grenade or your slide melee is insane. You're able to kill ads, and you know that all your abilities are going to be recharging quickly because you have something that can give you your grenade energy, something that can give you your melee. You also have amplify that can charge your dodge. Everything is basically going to be coming back as far as you're using this synergy. At the same time, you're also able to heal yourself. While all of this is happening, you still have heal thyself that allows you to get heals every time you kill an enemy with your grenade, which, like I said before, with Shinobu's vow, you have 2 of them. So you always have that chance to be able to heal yourself if you're running into trouble. And some people might think the skip grenade doesn't do that much damage, but with the ability of Jolt, it's a lot easier for you to tag something, track something, get Jolt, and heal yourself really quickly. So that's everything on the build for the Hunter mains who've been trying to find an arc build that works and still keeps them alive. I feel like this is something you guys are going to enjoy, because coming from last season with Solo 3.0 and having infinite melees, people are probably looking for ways to do the same kind of thing on Hunter. And this build, I bet you, would make you enjoy the new arc subclass a lot more. Thank you guys so much for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like on it. I'll see you guys in the next video.